Welcome to lesson 1.1. Everything is a remix. This mindset is at the core of the entire course. So I'm going to spend a little more time on this video than the following videos. So just FYI, this one's a little bit extended so we can go into detail. Now, if you haven't already watched it, you should pause it now and watch Everything is a Remix Part 3 on YouTube. Essentially, we'll learn that the three elements of creativity and innovation are to copy, combine, and transform. I think DJ mixing provides a great analogy here. This is my roommate in Germany who's a DJ. Essentially, he takes existing music from this mixer and he combines it with existing music from this mixer. And then they use these knobs to transform the sound and create something rather unique. We're going to do exactly that, but with business concepts. So basically, all business ideas are just an iteration of some idea that came before them. You all recognize these billion-dollar ideas that seem rather unique and innovative, but really, there is something that came before them extremely similar, and they just iterated off of that. So the one I'm going to focus on and go into a little more detail is Uber and Lyft. Let's look at the elements that they copy, transform, and combine. You have the taxi industry combined with an online marketplace that matches the supply and demand. And they take that online marketplace and they put it on a phone, which is location dynamic. Using that phone, you can locate where two people are, kind of like Find My Friends. And based on equations from operations research, you can identify the best match for someone looking for a ride. Find My Friends is just a combination of two GPS signals put on one application. So you can see Uber just combines these different elements in a unique, innovative way. Now I want to look at how Uber and Lyft are an evolution of businesses before them. So you may not know, but Mitfahrer in Germany was a ride-sharing service, and the equivalent in the US would have been Zimride in California. Basically, someone going from city A to city B could post their route information online, and people looking for a ride could message them. Now, they did it from city to city. Uber and Lyft transformed this by now making it uh, within the same city, going from point A to point B. And the way they're able to do that is using smartphone technologies that were mobile and had GPS built into them. So perhaps Mitfar was the original idea. Well, let's take a closer look there. Mitfar actually stemmed from an idea in LA in 1913 called the Jitney Ride. Basically, someone going from point A to point B would post with a sign on their windshield where they're heading to, and people who wanted to head in that same direction would wave them down, hop in their car, or sometimes hop on their car, and give them a nickel, or what they called a jitney 100 years ago. This idea evolved into the Selbstfahrgenossenschaft in Zurich. Here, people used a message board. They were living in the suburbs of Zurich, and when they wanted to go to the city, they would post when they're leaving, and people could stand outside and hitch a ride with them. So this was the first true ride-sharing service. Now, Share a Car, launched in the UK in 1977, they did exactly what Selbstfahrgenossenschaft was doing, but instead of a physical message board, they used a call-in service to match people up. And after the internet came out, this evolved into mitfar.de. And then the billion-dollar company BlaBlaCar, which is extremely popular all over Europe, they iterated on this and took over the market with a better algorithm and a little more user-friendly experience. This evolved into Zimride, and the founders of Zimride are actually the founders of Lyft. So you can see Lyft and Uber is not the most original idea, but rather 100 years of evolution of the Jitney Ride business model. Now I want to take a little closer look at the Selbstfahrgenossenschaft because there's some other interesting spin-offs that came from this business concept. So you have Share a Car service, which is ride sharing, but also what developed out of this was the B2C car sharing business model. This essentially evolved into rent-a-car or the rental car industry. And this rental car industry has now evolved into Zipcar, which people can drive the car, leave it anywhere, and they just pay for the time they used it. Now, also, it evolved into a peer-to-peer car sharing business model, the Autoteile Genossenschaft in Switzerland, which essentially they provided a system for people without a car to borrow other people's cars. This evolved with the evolution of the internet to businesses like the Easy Car Club and several other dozens of other car sharing platforms that exist in the world. Right now, the market leader is what you may know as Relay Ride, and they have rebranded into Turo. So Turo, Zipcar, Uber, Lyft, all these ideas were evolutions of ideas, several ideas that came before them. Looking at a different industry here, the online grocery delivery service. Webvan started it in 1996 and failed miserably, but when Instacart combined this business model with the peer-to-peer on-demand business model made popular by Uber, they have a $2 billion company and are growing rapidly. And Instacart and Webvan also drove the evolution of HelloFresh. HelloFresh is where a user can say which recipes he wants to make that week, and they deliver the exact ingredients and the exact ratios that you need to make that meal. It's been copied all over the world, and some have their own twist on it, and it is extremely successful and VC backed, and it's all an evolution of these ideas that came before them. Looking at the e-commerce clothing industry, we have a rather innovative model here. It's Stitch Fix, and essentially they deliver you an outfit each month that they think you are going to like. And the elements they're combining here is you have e-commerce for clothes, you have a subscription revenue model like Dollar Shave Club, you have the personal shopping business service. There's over 1,000 people doing it in Chicago alone. And you have the Pandora tagging algorithm, where basically people give inputs, and based on those inputs, there's a software that calculates the outputs, or what song you might like next, or what clothes you might like next, or what you should purchase next. So by combining these, they came up with a rather innovative application. Now, a big concept in this class is we look at where things are heading to and try to identify a pattern. So if we look at Wine of the Month, how it evolved into the music industry via Pandora, and how Stitch Fix took what Pandora did but applied it to e-commerce for clothes, then we might ask ourselves, this is a successful business model. Where is it going next? So I have a fun example for you guys. I try to keep it interesting to keep your attention. So entertain this idea. We copy the Stitch Fix business model. We find and apply it to a new application like America's boom cannabis industry that's emerging. And we find a way to transform it, make it unique or make it fit to this industry. So here's what that might look like. Let's say we take some inputs. How much money do you want to spend a month? Are you more quantity or quality dependent? Which strains do you like, and in which ratios would you like them? And based on all that information, someone can use these price comparison websites to find the best deals in town that match these preferences. And maybe we put a spin on it. Papa John's provides free coupons, or there's recreational activities. Who knows? Maybe we can even get the Girl Scouts some marketing out of this. So that's just one idea of how we see where we've been and where we might go with a business model. Now, that price comparison website may look like an innovative business model, and it is, but there have been 8 iterations of this since 2008, and right now WikiLeaf is doing exactly what Weedmaps did in 2008, but they have taken over the market just because they've iterated and learned what works and doesn't work. So In the case of price comparison websites, obviously these applications were not the first one to come up with this business model of listing different suppliers on one platform to make shopping easy. I would say the idea originated in 1995. Accenture Consulting started Bargain Finder Agent online, and a year or two later, there was advancements in software that allowed Jungly and Django and Excite to evolve this idea and automate it a little better. And as that came into maturity over the next 2 years, you have all these billion-dollar companies that fall out from it, and then you have niche applications like Gas Buddy, where you can find the cheapest gas station in town. So you can see that this business model has evolved over 5, 10 years, and then there's all these different applications that you can apply this business model to. I always like to include personal examples of how my experiences relate to what I'm teaching. So I'm working on one idea where I want to allow entrepreneurs that are extremely successful to meet up with each other. So what I am doing is I'm copying the Tinder application that allows two people to match and message each other. I'm combining that with founder dating, which is exclusively for entrepreneurs to meet each other. But the transformation I'm making is I'm making it hyper exclusive. Not anyone can join, and I'm making it quite expensive for the common person to join. So here's an example of copying, combining, and transforming to create a business idea. Also, this class that you are participating in, 95% of the material, of course, I did not come up with. I am copying content from my school HHL, from books I've read, from articles on the internet, and I'm combining them with an e-learning business model, which is essentially paid education plus some sort of consulting or office hour, and it's delivered on the World Wide Web. Now I am transforming it a little bit by providing engaging examples, a little personality to it, and especially hyper specializing in idea generation. As far as evolution of other businesses I'm iterating off of, you have numerous online accelerators and boot camps for startups. I'm taking it and I'm just focusing it on the application of idea generation, and I'm trying to make it fun, affordable, and very accessible to my peers. So guys, everything is a remix, copy, transform, combine. That's the main takeaway here. And we're gonna apply this mindset throughout every course, every business idea. So it's extremely important. The homework or the task for the week is choose 2 or 3 of these examples, maybe one from each category, and be ready to explain how a given example is a remix or evolution of a business before it. So you have Dell, everyone knows Dell. You have a retirement home for the gay and lesbian community. You have last minute Airbnb deals. And you have an internet platform for escort services and the like services. Now, these aren't business models, but we also have Donald Trump getting elected, Twisted Metal video game, a Dooner, if you don't know what it is, Google it, and the sport of football. So just tell me how these are an evolution of something that came before it, or which elements are they copy, combining, and transforming. The next lesson is understanding the differences between invention and innovation. So stay tuned for that video, and I look forward to going over these examples in our first class. Thanks, guys.